Good
Hey,
afternoon,
John.
Sam.
Afternoon.
Yeah, last summer I called to talk about how the Republicans are planning to attack Social Security, disability, and they didn't waste much time. I'm kind of shocked that they did it actually on the first day. So some of you who may not know about the SSDI benefits, they're scheduled to be cut by 19% in the fourth quarter of 2016.
Right.
The easy solution to the problem is to reallocate money from the regular Social Security fund. This reallocation has happened 11 times since 1968.
Correct.
But the Republicans put in their House rules that they will not reallocate this money unless the Social Security, what they call is strengthened. And, of course, that can only be happened by raising taxes or cutting benefits. And everybody knows that the Republicans will never raise taxes. So the bottom line is that, House Republicans, unless they cave to the political pressure in an election year, which is going to be, all these cuts are going to be taking place a month before the 2016 election, people are going to be receiving these drastic cuts. The average benefit is, I think, $1,146. So people are going to go from that amount to about $900 a month, or less than $900 a month on average. And it's just unbelievable. I mean, what they're doing to these people.
We should make it clear that if this allocation took place now, then both funds would be completely funded until 2033. So, in other words, by making this allocation now, it would be both funds would be fine. I mean, I don't know how else to say that. And so this is it's an incredible move because it's like this ticking time bomb, and it is going to be interesting to see how the Republicans intend to use this as a campaign issue, because if I was a Democrat, and if I would be screaming at the mountaintops about this, that the Republicans are attempting to cut Social Security, and I certainly would be doing that, in a year from now, essentially. But this is, I also think there are elements of the Democratic Party that if they saw this as a means in which to cut Social Security, they would do it, because this is how it's going to work. No one's going to allow all of these cuts to fall on disability in 2016. What they will do is they will make that allocation at one point, and they will say, we've got to cut benefits on the retirement fund. I mean, so in many ways, this is basically just teeing up, in some respects, that old grand bargain again that I've been talking about for years. The idea of perhaps maybe getting chained CPI back in there, which is a way of calculating cost of living increases, right? So here's the deal. We've got to save the disability fund. The only way for us to do that, according to Congress's own rules, I mean, we can't statutorily do it other than either raising taxes, obviously a non-starter with these folks. And frankly, I don't know that people are going to want to raise payroll taxes. I mean, I personally would love to say, okay, raise the taxes, blow through the cap. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And at least not with the Republicans in control. And so they're going to say, well, we have to have cuts. Let's institute the chained CPI. Those cuts in the future will now go towards making the disability fund solvent. And of course, we all know the case is that's what that is really just a way of cutting Social Security. So you're right. It's stunning, but this is what they have done, and we'll see if the Democrats can make any political hay out of it, or if they really have any desire to. That's really the question. I appreciate the call.
Sam.
Yeah. You want one more? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about, you seem to change your attitude a little bit from, a few months ago you were very concerned about the Republicans coming in and the changes that they were going to make. And we actually had a little bit of a debate about Obama and using his veto pen, and now you seem less concerned about it. You were talking about
absolutely. I mean, I got to say, like, over the past, really since the election, it is clear to me that the Obama administration made just a calculation, like the way for us to be relevant and to maintain any type of legacy is to actually, is to pull out all the executive action we can. And I think they're going to be a lot more tougher with a veto pen, I think. I still have this concern, and particularly this move by the Republicans increases that concern, that there's going to be an attempt to cut Social Security. I just think that the Obama administration, I think they can't look at the success they've had when it comes to normalizing relations with Cuba, the deferred action in terms of immigration, the China deal. I mean, the Republicans haven't been able to do anything with that stuff. And he's going to veto this Keystone XL. He's going to say it's because you're not letting the process go forward. But I think they are finding that politically it's more effective than they probably had anticipated. Now, they may have this idea that they can, this is going to weaken the Republicans, and maybe the real danger exists essentially between now and the fall. The numbers in the economy, at least in terms of what they can brag about, or at least they think they can brag about, are in their favor, at least the administration's favor. Come the fall, it's going to be very tough for the Republicans to get anything out of the Senate, because you've got like 3 or 4 guys in the Senate who need to distinguish themselves from each other. And so they're going to only have to take further and further right-wing sort of, I guess, positions on this. So a guy like Ted Cruz is going to stand in front of any type of deal because he's going to be talking to the right-wing base and is going to portray everything as a capitulation. And so that's, I think, that's the thing that has encouraged me.
But if you look at the Kromnibus, I mean, it seems like the Kromnibus actually enhanced your old view, which was Obama is going to cave. And, and now you seem to be turning around.
Well, the Kromnibus was passed with the Democratic Senate. I mean, that's the thing. You have to remember the dynamic is changing now. And the Republicans are going to control the Senate. And so they're going to control the agenda. And so it's not Ted Cruz being, Ted Cruz is going to have more power simply because he's in the majority. And so for whatever reason, losing the Senate has made Obama more aggressive. It's going to make the Democrats more aggressive because they don't have control anymore, and now they can just, it doesn't matter in their minds what they advocate for, because they're not actually going to have to take ownership for it. That's just the reality of the way the politicians work. And I frankly, I got to be honest with you, I'm surprised by what the administration has done. And so I definitely am more optimistic that we won't get horrible crap in the future. The Kromnibus, I agree with you. It's what I had predicted to happen come next year. But you've got the major points you've got coming up are the Department of Homeland Security budget, but they can't mess with that. They're just going to do the Republicans are going to do some like completely nominal for show defunding of the deferred action, but none of the funds come from that budget. They all come from fees out of immigration. So they can't really do anything there. Then you have the debt ceiling, which will come up. I think it hits in March, but through basically fudging stuff, it'll happen in August. And then it becomes more explosive for the Republicans, right? I mean, if the worst thing for the Republicans is a government shutdown in August and into September, That's what Ted Cruz is going to want. The Democrats can just sit back and say, look at what happens when you put these guys in charge now. They own all of it, right? And so that's going to be a problem for them, in my estimation. You're going to have the Medicare doc fix come up, I think, in spring, sometime in May or maybe early June. I'm not exactly sure when. And what you're going to end up seeing there, I think, is probably like the medical device tax of the Affordable Care Act repealed in some fashion. They will cave on that. I just don't see. I think the administration has gotten the word that, like, wow, wait a second. We can veto some of this stuff. We can stand up for the EPA, let's say, in defunding, and there doesn't seem to be any concerted blowback. Now, I may be a little bit too optimistic about it at this point, but I just think that, like, you know, when they went into this immigration thing, or when they went into this Cuba thing, I can't imagine the administration wasn't like, oh, this could be a real disaster. But I mean, nobody's even talking about it anymore. The Republicans just, like, that's the thing, is they seem to have run out of things. And, you know, I think what we'll see is some of these sort of, you know, corporatist style, no labels stuff that appeals to the corporate side of the Democratic Party and the corporate side of the Republican Party. This attack on Social Security is one of those things. But I think we have yet to see. I mean, the big thing, I think their concern is fast track on trade. But, you know, just in the past 3 or 4 months, you've seen Elizabeth Warren, her ability to scare people grow. And, you know, the Cromnibus was bad, but one of the things that came out of it was that, like, she can make things radioactive. And so I'm a little bit more encouraged that the ramparts are going to hold in some level.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about the disability portion, I mean, like, I was reading this guy, Republican congressman named Reed, who was kind of pushing for this, and I think what you're saying is true, that eventually they want to attack, you know, old age and the survivor's disability also. So this is just the first step.
Of course.
I mean, they're totally willing to take this first step and you know, take all the people on disability and throw them under the bus. And because they're saying specifically, they're putting this as a you know, disability versus old age. They want to divide everybody. This is the old, you know, the whole theory about dividing people, and that's what they're trying to do. And so it's good to see that, you know, the AARP and all these other retirement groups are also. I mean, look,
just think about the politics of this, though. Okay, assuming I disagree with you. I mean, I really don't think that they're going to go to the mat on disability. They're going to use this to forge a deal, because this is where they can be met in the middle. And I still think, you know, the Obama administration still has this desire, and I think they've always had this desire, and that's why I don't think it's changed, to cut Social Security long term. And so, I mean, let's lead us. If the Obama administration came to them and say, okay, or members of the Democratic Party in Congress came to them and said, we're willing to put change CPI on the table if you are willing to appropriate funds into the disability insurance. And the Republicans said no. Okay, I mean, anybody can write that script for Hillary Clinton in the summer of 2016, and that is the first thing I will do as president is will instruct a newly empowered Democratic Senate and, you know, and send a bill to the House, even if it's controlled by the Republicans, and say, this guy who's standing to the left of me and this woman who's standing to the right of me, one who has is in a wheelchair because of an industrial accident, and one who has diabetes and can't work, they will get their funds. I mean, the politics of that are very simple, very simple. That's why I think this is an intermediary step. But I got to go. we'll have plenty more time to talk about this. I appreciate the call.
I appreciate your help for the social safety net. It's great.